Okay.
All right. Good morning. Good afternoon. Hi, Crystal. Hello, Crystal. Crystal. Let me fix my little thing here. Um, Crystal is out the gate with making sure y'all like and subscribe. Let me see if I can fix that. Edit the background. Let's see. I don't know how to fix it without messing it up. So y'all just gonna have to work with me today. All right. Hi, Crystal. Hello, hello, hello. Happy to have you here. Give it a couple of minutes for folks to join. Maybe I'll try to see if I can fix my comment. Something happened to my application and it's giving me all the trouble. Um, Let me try that again. No, that ain't working. Hello, Winnie, Judith. Just this is gonna bother me now. Let me see if I can't fix this. Y'all just bear with me. Y'all know how I am. Mess around and okay. I'll fix it at some point. Y'all just bear with me. Happy Sunday, everybody. I am going to do my intro. We're gonna get started talking. Hi, Bridget. Happy Sunday. Good morning, WLJ. All right, Dr. T. All right, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. I am going to do my intro. This comment thing is going to bother me. Okay, y'all, just give me a minute. I'm going to try to fix it again. Nope, that didn't help it. Uh, okay, I'm going to keep working on it. All right. Howdy, happy Sunday, Rosalind, Steven. Happy Sunday, everybody. All right, let me do my intro. Happy Sunday, everybody. My name is Jewel Pearson. As I introduce myself, I say that I built up a fancy tiny house in 2015 because I don't believe you have to give up luxury to go tiny. And since that time, I have shared my journey to hopefully inspire others who are interested in the movement. I do offer coaching and consultations to help others in their tiny house journey. And once this video is up on my YouTube channel, you will be able to find links to schedule with me in the video description. And as I'm doing all of that, I serve up a lot of representation in the movement along the way. That I want us to see ourselves, and I want us to be able to have these conversations and be involved in the movement. And if you find this information in the video helpful, please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, and then turn on the notification so that you'll know when content is live and available. So I have a guest this morning. I know it's been a minute, y'all, since we've had a guest. So I want to let my guest introduce herself, and then we're going to get started.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Stephanie Denise. I go by Stephanie Denise, and I am so excited to be here with Miss Jewel this morning, Jewel Pearson.
We already had that conversation. It is
I
not
am
Miss Jewel.
Jewel Pearson, Miss Bohemian Soul herself. I'm so excited to be here. I am a owner of a tiny house. I built the first tiny house in 8 years ago, actually. Just recently, in this last year, I've tried container homes. I have a container home. And I also have figured out that I myself am not quite able to downsize enough to live in a tiny house. So I did buy a home that is just under 1,100 square feet. That's about as small as I could go at this point. But I am committed to providing affordable housing for others, and so that's what I do. Educator, twin mom, author, real estate investor. So glad to be here.
She is a twin mom, a boy and a girl. So she did it right out the gate. She got the best of it all right out the gate. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I might have fixed the comment placeholder. Glad to have you here, Stephanie
Thank
Denise. I appreciate you being here. Before we get
you.
started in our conversation, I also want to address something because y'all know I read the comments. And so I want to address something. So last week, someone commented on um, one of the videos, and their question, their statement was, I think you podcasters waste so much time saying hi to all of the people that are tuning in to listen and see online whatever we're trying to watch. Why do you do this? So, Denise Scott, I want to say good morning to you. That Denise made this comment. I'm going to say good morning to you, and I'm going to address this out here because I could have addressed it directly. But for the future, anybody watching, what I want to say is I'm not a podcaster per se. This is a community that we're having conversation. We are in community. So in community, you speak to each other. You actually like each other. You want to know how folks are doing. And so we're building community. And that's bigger than just being a podcaster where you get on and talk about whatever you're talking about. So yes, I grew up in the time period where you didn't step into the room without speaking, and good morning is was required. And as an adult, I appreciate that I was taught that way because basic common greetings are so underrated. They are important. They and as I am developing community, I want to respect and get to know everybody. I want to show my gratitude that people show up on Sundays because they don't have to. And then the knowledge that I'm sharing, that's not my primary. My primary thing is to develop community, virtual and physical community. So I have 2 points for you. If you're bothered by the fact that we're going to say good morning and I'm going to speak to folks, you can skip ahead. Or you can go find a podcaster that doesn't do all of that and get your information. But over here, we're going to say good morning. And I'm saying good morning to you, Denise Scott. I hope that my community says good morning to you because I want you to know what that love feels like when people are welcoming and speaking and engaging in community. So this is a community. So thank you. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you, community, for being here. Anybody else that doesn't understand why we speak and I say hello, this might not be the spot for you. All right. So got that out the way. Thank you, Elle. Happy to have you here. Um, all right. So my guest this morning, she said she gave us her parameters for living tiny. It's not something that she can necessarily do, but she's got a strategy that I wanted to have her come on and share with us, because we always talk about how our homes and our journeys tell us tell our story, tell a story about us, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And most of the time that I feel like as small homes, tiny houses are involved, there is some intention behind decisions, whether you're living it in the tiny journey or whether you're kind of somehow associated with tiny houses. I feel like there's more thought and intention that goes into that process.
Yeah.
The decision, the designs, the journey, all of that, I feel like it's more intention in that process. And so that's what we explore on this channel, and that's what we're going to explore in this conversation. I always say that it's much bigger than the house, and I feel like it always turns out to be much bigger than the house. So thank you
Yeah.
for introducing yourself. Thank you for being here to share this morning with us. So I kind of know from the behind the scenes that you when you were married, you started out doing investing. Talk
Mhm.
to us about where that interest came in investing. Have you always been in real estate? Was that your career? Where did that come from?
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. So, actually, no, I was a HGTV enthusiast.
Okay.
So, basically, I was teaching school, school teacher, and let me say this was my second husband where we really started this journey. So I was single mom. I had purchased. I always thought that home ownership was very very important.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I made sure that I own my own home. I had bought a townhouse, right?
Okay.
And so my kids, they came home from the hospital to that townhouse. They lived there until they were basically 12 years old. And so, because as a kid, I moved around a lot. We moved around. My parents were they were kind of hippie-ish, I guess you would say, but they
Nomadic.
loved
Say nomadic. They were nomadic.
nomadic. Thank you. Let's be PC. They were nomadic, and education was very important. So we moved around to college towns, and they would go to school and whatnot. But I said when I got older, I was going to make sure that I had a foundation for my kids, right? I didn't want to move around, but that nomadic lifestyle showed me how not to be so attached to things. Because every time you move, right, you got rid of a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
kind of start over, right? So you never had a whole lot, so to speak. And so I bought a townhouse. I lived in that with my kids. And then I was a single mom. Actually, I was a single mom for 11 years, right? So,
Okay.
so from the time my kids were less than a year. Anyway, I was watching HGTV that whole time. That was my thing. I was like, "Ooh, real estate, real estate," and I really loved the ones who would go in and take something that was, really rough and remodel it. But then all of a sudden, the tiny house came on the scene, and I was like, that's awesome. I was so excited. I could not get enough of tiny house living. And I kept thinking about, ooh, how cool would it be if I had a tiny house out on some land and my kids were able to just roam and be free? I thought that was just the ultimate, right? And so I dreamed of having a tiny house. And so what I did first was I had this townhouse I was living in. I converted the garage. I
Okay.
converted the garage to like a playroom slash bedroom. It was a tandem. They called it a tandem garage. So it was narrow, and you could put two cars in it, but it had to be one behind the other.
Okay.
Okay. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, so it was long and narrow. So I took that. I put up some drywall, separated. So I had a playroom for the kids, and then the other side was a bedroom slash office, right? So I'm taking, and this townhouse is only 1106 square feet. It's pretty small, but it's upstairs, downstairs. So really, it's 5 and 5,
Okay.
right? A little. So that was my first project by myself. Loved it. Worked out really great. I had the extra space. But it was all tiny space still,
Hmm.
but it worked. So then when I got with my second husband number two, he was already into real estate, but he was into straight rentals, right? And I had told him, I said, I want a tiny house. So I moved out of my townhouse to a whole nother city where he was, and I rented out my townhouse Airbnb. Great money. So that was my introduction to Airbnb, and I loved it. Oh my God. I was born to be a landlord. Let me just tell you that. So
Okay.
anyway, but so once I moved to the new city, we had a very small house. Our house was only about 900 square feet, and we had three kids in that house. So immediately I said, let's add on. So started a project. We added on. When we added on 500 square feet. In that 500 square feet was a kitchenette, a huge bathroom with a rain shower, double heads, and then the bedroom space, right, which included also living space. So that was yet another project. From there, I was like, we
So
have all
was
this yard.
that space that you added on, was that for you all to use, or was that also a rental? Was that a rental space when you added on?
That was for us to use, but that is a rental right now. That I have that for rent. I have a tenant in there with a lease. And then so out right outside that there were some double doors, and then I said, okay, now we can do the tiny house. So I had the tiny house built 8 years ago. Everybody loved the tiny house. Now that tiny house is less than 200 square feet. It's
Okay,
very, very.
Steph,
Uh-huh.
Reverend Stephanie Denise. Before we start talking about the tiny house, because I also want to show show the pictures. I want to step back a little bit to ask some questions about the investment process as well as your downsizing process. So as you
Okay.
kind of bit the bug to get involved in real estate, you said second hubby was into real estate, but he was into straight rentals, I think is what you said.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Tell us about his strategy. It sounds like at that point you said your strategy, your thinking was a little bit different. Tell us about the straight rentals and what you were thinking as you wanted to proceed. What the difference is there.
Okay. So what he had done, I hope I'm looking at you guys. I don't know what camera to look
You
at.
are. You're fine.
So what he had done was he had bought in 2009 when the bottom fell out. He had bought a couple of very distressed homes for like $40,000, which is, well, that might be a lot. In California, that's nothing. But most places that might be something. So $40,000, extremely distressed properties. And then he had some sons, and he and his sons rehabbed those properties and then rented them out. So when I mean straight rental, I just mean having tenants, not doing an Airbnb process, but just
Gotcha.
having a tenant with a lease.
Gotcha.
So he had done that to two properties prior to us coming together. So when we came together, I was the one kind of like I was interested in tiny houses because I just love that whole concept. And so we were able to kind of build on the foundation that he had set and build on the foundation I had set. With me, it was the townhouse that rented doing that Airbnb. You're able to get about 2.5 to 3 times the amount of rent, the amount that you would get in straight rent. So
Okay.
that's what I
Oh,
mean.
that's the I knew that point, and that's where I wanted you to get to. So when we talk about, and so we've had other guests on who have done tiny house ADUs, all of the things. It could be a tiny in California. It can be a tiny house on wheels as an ADU. But
Mhm.
what the point is that I want everybody to pay attention. So we're talking about strategies for real estate. We're talking about strategies for liberation. The straight rental versus the rental where you're offering it as an Airbnb. We've also talked to people who rent to traveling nurses. That
Yeah,
rental, that money is different from having a long-term tenant in the home, and a straight rental, as Reverend Stephanie Denise called it. So,
yeah.
as we're talking about strategies, that's one of the strategies that I want you to keep in mind. So, thank you very much for calling that out.
Yep, you're welcome. So yeah, so we took the house, we did the addition, then we did the tiny house. Okay. That first tiny house,
Wait, sorry,
it
sorry. Before you talk about the tiny house, I do want to show the pictures, and
oh,
so let's do that so they'll have a point of reference in what we're talking about. So let me ask one more question. So you've got a set of twins. And I've heard you said at one point it was three children in the house. Talk to us about your mindset around things and downsizing to be able to live in smaller spaces with
mhm,
like a medium-sized family. So
yeah,
we talk about attachment, we talk about attachment to things, the
yeah,
challenges that people have in downsizing, the challenges that people have in feeling like they need to have a lot of space for
mhm.
all of the things. Talk to us about that a little bit, please.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's really interesting because the twins came out of living with mom. It's just me, me and them,
Mhm.
right? And they had their own rooms with all of their stuff, right? And then my bonus daughter, she came from living with her mom, in it was a house that her mom and dad had together at one point, but that house was it's almost 4,000 square feet. So huge, right? And her own room, but just with massive amount of space. Her room probably alone 600 square feet just for
Oh,
her
wow.
bedroom.
Wow.
So we brought those three into this house. And actually, we sat down first and we had a meeting with them when we knew we were all coming together. We sat down, we went to lunch, and we asked them. We had, my ex had this rental, and he said, we can move into this rental. It was 915 square feet. It's up to you guys. We can move into this rental, or we can get a new home, buy a new home that would work for all of us. But if we move into this rental, then all we're going to need to do is maybe add on a little space, a master bedroom, and we could travel.
Mm.
Which one do you guys want to do? So that from the time we came together, that was the initial meeting with the question, and all of the kids said, let's move into, which was at that time a rental, let's move into the small house, and so that we can travel.
Okay.
And that's exactly what we did.
Stop for 1 second. How old were your kids at that? Were the kids that you all were having this meeting with?
The twins were 12,
Okay.
and the bonus daughter was 13.
Okay. So I want to talk about how important it is to. So oftentimes people will say you can't live in a tiny house with a family. I'll always meet somebody who says to me, that's all well and good, but it's just you. I could never do this with a family. And I often point out how there are lots of families who live in tiny houses. Sometimes it is, uh, I guess, a means to an end is the best way to say it. Their intention is we are going to build a bigger house or we're going to buy a bigger house, but we don't want to be in as much debt as we normally would be. So we're going to live in this tiny house and we're going to save money and we're going to
Mhm.
be able to pay cash for building this house, or we're going to be able to have more money to put into this house so it is less debt. So it's a goal. The goal is we have a point, so we're doing this to get to the goal. Or it could be a situation just like what you said, where there's a conversation that is had, the purpose is outlined, and everybody buys into what we're doing, the what and the
Yeah.
why. Because just if you all had just made the decision knowing we're going to do this because we want to travel and hadn't involved the kids, and I'm not saying kids have to be involved in every decision because as a parent, we know that's not even possible. And there's also an age where this makes sense, and
Hmm.
also a situation where you're bringing you're conjoining a family. These kids are used to being with mom over here with more space. This daughter is used to being with her mom with so much space. Now you're asking folks to come together and give up space, and if you haven't had the conversation as to why we're doing this, then you're already adding some friction, to unnecessary friction, to what often is a friction anyway, especially at that age and trying to conjoin families. So that was a beautiful, beautiful thing to bring the kids into the conversation and get their buy-in, so that
Yeah.
when I want to complain that my space is as big as a closet, I know I'm going to Disney World in 2 weeks. That makes sense.
That's right.
That makes sense. And so this goes back. Mara brought it around for me. The intention. So Mara is saying that there is a husband and wife with 5 children living in the schoolie for a few years now, and they are very happy. It happens. Intention. The intention, we just ain't haphazardly making decisions or not good decisions for the entire family where people are consulted and we can talk this out. We are intentionally bringing a family together, and we're intentionally going to have some conversation and give some options. So if y'all want a lot of space, we're gonna go over there, but y'all the trip's gonna be to go to McDonald's for a Happy Meal and the playground, and
Mhm.
and then you go to your big room.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
love that.
That's yeah.
I love
That's
that. Yes. And then I feel like that also opened up because we also want to, as we talk about world schoolers, and that is the thing that world schooling. That is the thing that I love as I watch so many folks' journeys, like Mara just mentioned. A lot of
Mm,
these people that are living small with their families, the world is the school for those
that's
kids,
right.
and
That's
they
right.
have an opportunity to travel and learn the world and culture and broaden their perspective, which is what everybody needs. that they might not otherwise have, because again, there was some intention in the decisions for this process. I
Right.
love it. So let's look at the pictures so we can give folks a point of reference as you start talking about um, the tiny house and your journey. So I am going to share uh, the screen, and now you all should be able to see, and you can still see Stephanie Denise, right? Can you
I can
still?
see the picture. I
Okay,
can see
all
the
right.
picture.
Okay, so talk to us about what this space is here that we're looking at.
Oh, okay. So this particular space is this is the 1,100 square foot house that I bought 2 years ago. So I love to say that the story worked out really well with
Oh,
the second.
okay, wait a minute. Let me go back so I can let you talk, and then we. I forgot there was a segue we needed to get to. I
So
forgot. Get us to the segue.
there is a segue. So well, what we did when we were living all together in the house. Our first daughter, we came through COVID beautifully, but while we were in COVID, there was a duplex that my ex owned, and so what he did during COVID, he didn't like the fact that the kids were kind of sleeping in. And they all had a little bit of money, from this, that, the other. And so he said during COVID that they were going to get up and they were going to help with a project. The project was to build two cottages behind the duplex.
Okay.
So every morning they had to get up at six and then be at the site by 6:30 or 7 and work with the crew. And so the kids, it was three of them, who worked together with the crew, and they built two cottages, and then they had to find the tenants to rent those cottages to. So that was during COVID. That was 2020. That was a beautiful thing. So my kids know how to build from the ground up.
Okay.
Right.
And tell us
So
where, did you already say where you live? Because obviously we
oh,
talk about the fact that, the rules are different city by city and by county. So everything that Stephanie Denise is talking about may or may not be an option where you live. So I do also want to call out where Stephanie Denise lives.
okay, so let me say this: since we did sell that property, those two cottages behind the duplex were not fully permitted. How I'll
Oh,
say that. I'll say
okay.
it that way. I'll
Okay.
say it that way. And so basically what ended up happening with that is the kids put their money together. They built these with materials and everything. And then one of them, the three built, and then the other one, he had an older son who actually lives in Taiwan. So that son invested and paid for the other one. So there were two. So what happened was he got the idea to go to Rwanda. Bless you. He got the idea to go to Rwanda. Actually, I got the idea to go to Tanzania. He got the idea to go to Rwanda, and then something happened with the Tanzanian president, and then it switched to Rwanda. But so the whole idea was, let's go, let's check it out. We went to Rwanda. We fell in love with Rwanda. This is all during 2020. This is all during COVID, right? We fell in love with it. So while in Rwanda, we ended up looking at land to purchase. First land we looked at to purchase, we wanted to build these same things: provide housing, build cottages, small living, right? 400 to 500 square feet for ourselves and for our family, as well as for people in the community. So that was the idea. We go to Rwanda, we fall in love. First land I see, I get out. I just immediately start crying. They tell me, and I don't know why. They tell me this is ground zero of the Rwandan genocide. I'm like, oh my God.
Mhm.
Right. So that was a whole emotional thing. Our kids are still back here in the States. This is their first time kind of being on their own. They're like 16 and 17, and I'm like kind of freaking out a little bit because I'm in Rwanda and they're here in the US. But with those cottages that they built that summer of 2020, they rented them out. They had them rented for a full year. The money that they received, they split. The kids, the youngest one three ways, and then the money received we sent to the other son in Taiwan because he invested. So when we come back from Rwanda, David's like, let's buy the land, the 19-acre banana plantation, not the first land where I had the total meltdown on, but on the next land. And so we come back and we put up the duplex for sale with the cottages. And so what we do with that, the proceeds, the money that we made from that, we bought the 19-acre banana plantation in Rwanda with the idea to build tiny houses on that land. That was
Okay.
and it was okay. Go ahead.
Let me stop you for 1 second. Two
Uh-huh.
questions I want to ask. Okay, so the kids, what? So I know somebody is going to ask. Well, so first of all, yes, she's in California. So
In California. Sorry.
yeah, that's the one question. Second question is, I know somebody wants to know, what do these kids do that three of them had enough money to go in and build a cottage? The physical labor, we understand they had to get out there and work, but we're trying to understand how they what were they doing that they had money. Give us some numbers, if you can give us some numbers, like what did the
Oh
cottage
yeah.
cost and how were they able to invest at that young age?
That's good. Okay, so 18 one was 16,000
Oh,
and the other one was about 18,000. The second one that the older son built was about 18,000. So
oh,
this was what materials and everything. And let me say this, there was already at some point, I'm trying to think when, maybe 2017. My ex at that time had laid already the foundation for the two cottages. So the foundation, the he had paid for that. The foundation, the stuff for the plumbing, all of that had already been laid down. The
okay.
rebar, concrete, everything. So all that needed to go was the
The
structure,
framing
right?
of the structure. Okay, so
Yeah.
the a lot of the core stuff that really ends up costing a lot had already been done by your then husband prior
Yes.
to the kids getting involved with doing the work. So that had eliminated a lot of the major costs. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And then the money, this was just like, this is birthday money, Christmas money, just money that they had saved. Because they all ended up putting in, the younger ones, they put in like 5,000 and some change. It was all the money they had. Don't get me wrong. When he put the idea to them, they were kind of like, uh, I don't know that I want to spend. I don't want to spend my money on that, right? So he kind of pushed them. But let me tell you what happened when we sold that property. When we took the proceeds, when we bought the property in Rwanda, the 19-acre plantation. We also I said to the kid, because they had put the money in. That was it. They were getting the rents, so we continued to pay them the rent. So whatever was the profit, my one daughter, my bonus daughter wanted the money up front because she was getting ready to go to college, her freshman year of college. The twins wanted their money every month, right? So and they wanted $400 a month. So I have for the last couple years, I think maybe 2.5, almost 3 years, I've paid them $400 a month from those
Because
proceeds.
from the proceeds of those properties. Okay, so we're going to stop for just a second because there's another lesson here in strategy around real estate and strategies around liberation. So, in addition to the conversation that y'all had with the kids about the smaller space so that we can travel, there was a
Mhm.
lesson that was shared with them first in, y'all need to get up and do some physical work. And so they had to get up and learn some things about construction and actually be responsible for doing some work. And then the second
Yeah,
lesson sounds like that was shared was some financial lessons. Investing, you all invest, it's all of your money. Well, let me, before we even start about that investing, there had to be some lessons that were shared with them about saving their money for some young kids to have access to $5,000. That's very, I don't think it's well heard of. Maybe I don't know
yeah.
what kids are doing now. Um, but I don't think it's common. So then there were some lessons in saving money, and then there were some additional lessons in investing. If you all like, there had to be something to encourage to get them on board to show them how investing this $5,000 you have is going to reap some rewards on the back end. So there was some education here.
Yeah. So one of the things was with the Airbnb, the first Airbnb, which was my townhouse, right? Um, they had to, and that was in a whole nother city. So we were the cleaners, right? We did the turns on that house. So
Okay.
I would pack, the kids would come with me. We drive 45 minutes to the city where that house was, and we would do the turns. That means that we had to change all the bed linen, we had to wash everything, we had to clean up. So they so they were learning
Right.
from the beginning, how this works. And they knew, and at this time, I was a school teacher for 25 years. So at this time, I'm not teaching school, right? This is it. This is how we make our money. So, and I'm very vocal about, okay, this is what this is. I was old school. I'm kind of like envelope system. Even when they needed cards, right? I was like, okay, here's the envelopes. We're going to put a little bit, put a little bit, put a little bit till we get, to the number for your car or whatever. So they saw me how I was with money. It was never a secret. And if we don't do this, then we're not going to have these resources, right? And they saw me with the tenants, right? Whereas my ex-husband was more, he's the idea guy as far as to build, but as far as like actually getting the money, like if somebody's late, he'd be like, "Oh, it's okay." I'd be like, "Oh no, no, we're gonna go, come on, guys, we're gonna go get this money, right?" So we kind of complimented each other in that way because
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure that we get the money. So I
Okay.
think that came from me, and definitely my dad as well. My dad was very good with that.
We today we're talking about real estate strategies, and we're talking about liberation strategies, and this is all of this in between. So every time we get to this, I want to point out what we're talking about and make sure that you all are taking these nuggets away. So thank you very much. All right, so you get ready to get us to the segue so we can look at the picture. So go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, so the segue, we buy 19-acre banana plantation. We buy a huge house that's about, I want to say 3,000 square feet, that also has another house on the lot. This is in Rwanda, in Africa,
Okay.
right? When we went there the first time during 2020, we actually started a nonprofit, okay? And we met all these people. We built a team. Before we left the ground, we had our whole team. We had rented a place for the nonprofit, and those people were on the ground working. That went on for 2 years. For 2 years, we ran a business in Rwanda from America. Okay. So then what happens? You fast forward 2 years. Um, the nonprofit is doing its thing, that they call that the love center. The love center is doing its thing. There's people who are working there making sure that happens. The banana plantation is still, raw land. Nothing's happening. It's divided into 21 plots, but nothing's really being built yet. My ex gets the idea. God wants us to go to Rwanda and sell everything and move. My one daughter is getting is a freshman in college, and the twins are seniors in high school. I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. My hand was feeling forced. I was already, I had just, 8 years prior, moved to another city, 45 minutes away from my family. You know, I was loving it here, right? I live in California. I live in a city that at one time was depressed. It's still a little bit, but I love it. I mean, when I say I'm home, I feel like I'm home. There's black and brown people everywhere I go. I've never lived around black and brown people like this. So I love it. I'm home,
Okay.
and I'm like, "Oh, you want us to do another move?" So ultimately, we kind of split on that because the youngest, the twins graduated, and the very next day he moved to Rwanda. So,
Okay.
and we already had everything set up there.
Okay.
So then that made me, I stayed in the house that we moved in for, I say, 6 months. And
Okay.
then one day I just was like, no, I gotta go.
Okay.
This is, yeah.
Okay.
So now here we are at the pictures.
Okay. Um, Crystal just said y'all used your time extremely wisely during COVID-19. Absolutely. While
Oh
folks
yeah.
were trying to figure it all out, and we know there was a lot happening financially for folks. Like it was just shocking. Folks were sick, but there was an opportunity there for you all that you all took advantage of, and that's absolutely beautiful. There are
Yeah.
also comments about let me applaud the parents in this family on building wealth in young minds that have the mindset to understand the long game through real estate. Excellent. And Carol, I mean, so everybody who always says excuse the typos, I know how hard it is to chat and I mean to type in the chat. So y'all don't have to worry about it. We already know that y'all know how to spell. It's me that might not at this point. So all right. So thank you, Stephanie Denise. So getting us to the segue. So now we know that it is Stephanie Denise out on her own now. The kids are in
They're in
college.
college.
They're in college, and so we got the banana um the banana. What did you call it?
It's a banana
The
plantation. It's
the banana.
19 acres.
Yes,
Yeah, Rwanda.
we did that. So Stephanie, tell us, okay, before we got to the split part. Tell us how long you lasted in Rwanda.
I lasted 3 weeks. That's it. I mean, it is beautiful. The people are beautiful. The food is amazing. I mean, people are so soft spoken and loving and kind, right? But then you have some other situations too. Um, but even when it was time for us to come back, our ticket, something was wrong with our ticket, and they had to make a change, and that means we were going to stay 2 more days or 3 more days. And I just cried. I cried like a baby. I wanted to come home. I wanted to be where my mama is. I wanted to be where my daddy is. I wanted to be where my kids are, as beautiful as it was. So for me, um, yes, the people and the culture, everything is beautiful. And like I said, I felt home, but I feel more home here where I live.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so I cried. I wanted to get back.
Okay.
I do everything opposite. I do everything opposite. I'll say that, like, I tell people, like, right now I'm an empty nester. So I went back to the classroom. People are running from the classroom, and I ran back to it, right? So just like being in Rwanda, for me, it was beautiful, but yet for me, I can't do that. But I know people are flocking to places around the diaspora. So
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to call out. So like I, my Stephanie and Rashida, my good friends, are helping women lead the United States. It's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't need to leave if it doesn't work for them. What we want to show is options. We want folks
mhm,
to have options. I don't necessarily plan to live out of the country full time, but I want the option to be able to go and stay and do all of the things as I please. And so I think the thing that we are calling out, that all of this work is all of this conversation is the the investing, the real estate investing, the strategies there to build your wealth, the strategies there, and wealth is going to lead to liberation. Liberation can be here in the United States for you. Liberation can be to have the option to be here and to leave and to stay part time or to stay full time. Options. We want to have options, and we want to show you those options because our counterparts have these options, and they've been doing this real estate stuff. I mean, we ain't gonna go back to when they stole all the land. We're not gonna talk about that right now, but they do this all the time, and so we want to show this in our community. We want to show how it can be done. Like oftentimes when you think about investment from real estate and rentals, the earning money from investments of real estate, you think you got to have a lot of money. And what we're talking about now is not necessarily a lot of money. You just told us the story about how the cottages were built with investments of $5,000. We have access to $5,000 if you pool your resources. So we want to start thinking, we want to start having these conversations so that we can be thinking strategically, but also thinking out of the box. How do I accomplish this with what I have? And we want to show examples so that it won't be such a foreign concept to you to think through this. And so
Mm.
that's what we're doing this afternoon, this morning for some of y'all, this morning for Stephanie Denise, who is in California, and this afternoon for me. So we're gonna share some pictures. Thank you, Crystal. I did see the comment that the comments are hard to read. I'm gonna try to work on this while we talk through the pictures. Something happened with the application, and so and it's also because I haven't had a guest on so stuff has changed around. So I'm going to work on it. Thank y'all very much for your feedback. That's why we in community. And that's why we say hello to each other as I go back to that, because this is a community. So absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to share the screen, and if you'll talk to us about what we're seeing here.
Okay, so this is the current house where I am now. So this house is a small house. It's just under. It's about 1,100 square feet. So when I came here, right, I left the house that the family lived in. The children are all in college, living there. So when I walked into this house, I was like, "This is it." It's very small, but it has an open space for living room and for dining room, which I liked, which opens right into the kitchen. So it's just a small ranch built in 55 and nothing exciting about it, right? The family home that we were in was a Tudor, and it had a lot of work that needed to be done on it, and it was hard to take care of. But this house is very simple, very easy. You can see just straight lines, little box, rectangle, easy.
All right.
That's my living room, right? So this so this couch actually came from the other house. Let me tell you, everybody, even my ex, honestly, everybody loves this couch because they say it's perfect for sleeping. So when when you get on it, before you know it, you are taking a nap.
You are
So
knocked out.
so that's the only thing that we did bring was the couch. But yeah, that's my living room.
All right. Now, what did you say? What city you're in? Are you comfortable? I know you said it's a lot of black and brown folks, and that's what you love. Are you comfortable saying your city? If not, you know,
Oh, well, I'm in Vallejo,
okay,
California. Yeah.
Vallejo.
So,
Okay, all right.
yeah, yeah. I wanted a fireplace, and it had a fireplace, so that's the fireplace, living room
Love that.
still.
I love this. Anytime if that statue you got over here on the right hand side, if you ever need to downsize some more, just let me know. I'll take it
Okay, will do.
right off your hand. This is gorgeous.
Thank you. This is the corner. I sit in this corner all the time. That's the little green chair my mom gave me, so I keep it. At one point, I was really deep into like mid-century modern, and so people would gift me things. Also, this picture was gifted to me. If you see it on the wall, it's a lady holding
Mm-hmm.
two children, and that represents my twins, and my boy is fair with hazel eyes and my girl is chocolate, and so it was just an awesome picture for someone to like just pick that up, and
That
it
was very
represents.
thoughtful. They were thinking about you.
Hmm.
I love that bench.
Oh, yes. So Facebook, right? So I watch all the shows. I watch all the tiny living shows. I watch all the shows where people are homesteading. And everybody talked about Facebook Marketplace. You got to go to Facebook
Mm-hmm.
Marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I got to go. So I went to Facebook Marketplace and I saw this church. It was a church pew, basically. I
Absolutely.
saw this church pew and I was like, I got to have it. Now, what people don't know is that my dad passed away 2 years ago, and right after that, my mom was diagnosed with leukemia, and so she's in remission right now. Thank
That,
God.
that's beautiful.
So Yeah, so I called her. Right now she's on remission. I said, Mom, we got to go on a mission. She was like, okay. And so we went on this mission. We went to some random town that was like 2 hours away. We took my dad. My dad had a truck, so we drove his truck, and we're like, he's with us because it still smells like him in the truck. So we took his truck and we went down and we got this church pew. Facebook Marketplace. It was just pennies on the dollar. It was really a great find. And then when I came back, I had it reupholstered.
This is
So
that's go that is gorgeous.
thank,
Okay,
thank you.
so one question. So in the segue, you didn't answer this, but in the segue, I know this, and I think we missed it. The
Okay.
So one of the questions are you still married? If so, how are you managing being on two different continents? So update the segue a little bit.
Well, thank you for the questions. As of June 21st, 2024, we are officially divorced. And I know that seems like a sad thing, but it's not. Let me tell you why. Because he is living the life of his dreams. He's in Rwanda. He's loving it. They treat him like a king. That's what he needed in this time of his life. Because we purchased the house, and the house that has the small house on the lot, because we purchased the 19 acres, because we started doing Airbnb, he's using all of those same skills in Rwanda, living the life of his dreams, right? Because we had the property here, the courts were so good to us. The court said he could have, and we kind of also agreed, he could have everything in Africa. I could have everything in the U.S. and
And that
beautiful.
worked
It
out.
was a beautiful
That worked
situation.
out beautifully. I
That worked out.
I always so I we had someone last week in the comments say that they were getting a divorce, and I wasn't as sensitive as I should have been, and my community checked me, and I appreciated that. But I always say my divorce was one of the best decisions in my life, so I, I can relate. I'm glad that
Yeah,
I'm glad that yours was amicable, so you all could both get what worked best for you all, and that's the beauty of that.
that's the beauty. And like I said, that was my second time around. You know the stats on second times anyway. So but God is good. So he's happy, I'm happy. This is my kitchen. My kitchen is plain, so
It's
it's
cute.
kind of a farmhouse situation. I like simple.
Hmm.
I'm eclectic though, because I mix ethnic, boho, farmhouse, and mid-century. I mix them all together.
I,
So
I
yeah.
like it. Your crock pot is the cutest. I have zoomed in on the design. I've never seen a crock pot with the that design. Now I gotta go look for one.
Oh, I'm
That's
trying
cute.
to think. That's a few years old. That's probably at
That's
least seven.
cute. That is cute. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank
I'll
you.
give up on it then.
That's just me. I like and I also have this weird thing for French country. So you can't really see, but the little salt and pepper shakers, they're like from what's that store? Um Anthropology. Right. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Then you said it's called what? French
Anthrop Oh, French country?
French
What?
country. Okay, I've never heard of French country. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay,
Anthrop
so I want y'all to look out the window, look out her window, because we're gonna start talking about the tiny house in the backyard soon. But if you look through this window, you can see it. Right? Is that it?
Oh no, that
That's it.
that's right in front of it. That's the little gazebo, whatever pergola
Okay.
thing.
Okay. Got it.
But
As I was saying, I was like, the roof looks different. Okay. All right. I
yeah,
lied. I lied. Okay. Now here we go. Okay. So talk to us about you've been in this space, and then you decide.
Okay, so now because the last 8 years of my life, things have been paying for other things. Now, I haven't even talked about duplexes that we have put fifth wheels and RVs on and rented them out, right? But so that's a whole nother part of it. But things have been paying for things. So when I bought this house, yes, this is my freedom home. This is my, new me, new lease on life home. But guess what? I'm not paying this mortgage all by myself. No, something has to help with this mortgage. So this is a container home. The container home comes fully equipped, as far as, it has a two-burner stove, sink, shower, toilet, all of that. It just has to be plumbed into your plumbing, electricity, right?
Say
And
that.
so
Wait,
that's
wait, wait. Say that one more time. Say it again.
it has to be plumbed into your electricity and your plumbing. So you
We're
hook
talking
your
this structure. We're talking about this structure.
this structure.
Okay.
Yes, this
Okay.
structure.
Okay. Okay.
You can get this structure. So I could have got this structure totally off grid. What they would have had to do, well, it would have been like $8,000, but they would have done solar. They would have done type of a toilet, incinerating, composting, whatever the case may be. So you can totally get it off grid. I did not want it off grid.
Mhm.
I wasn't quite ready for that.
Okay.
So this is my I'm gonna oh, there it is. They're lifting it over the house. Yeah, that was a little nerve-wracking.
I bet.
They had one guy to hook this thing up off of the trailer, and that one guy, I didn't send you those pictures, got it put in the back where it needed to go. One guy. They should have at least had two, but they had one, and I
They,
was praying the whole
they
time.
apparently know that. Look, they low on resources, and they feel like he knows what he's gonna do, what he's supposed to do. Thankfully, he
Right.
got it done.
Yeah. So now this is my backyard. When I got to this house, I've been here exactly 2 years. When I got to this house, that backyard was just nasty mud, just mud. We couldn't do anything with it. So because the mid-century came in with the rocks, right? I
Okay.
had been to Palm Springs recently, and I was like, oh yeah, that'll do it. We just gonna put some rocks out there,
Okay.
right? And then and for my son, I had to have just a pit. They love to watch movies outside in the summer and do marshmallows. So okay. So where you see these posts, that actually is a fence. So they don't have a lot of yard space. It's really for sleeping because it's a small container,
Okay.
right? And I didn't want to lose my backyard. So this is the container. There's a little fence. There's a walkway. It is, I want to say it's 100, and it's very small. It's like 168 square feet. It's not big at all.
Okay.
So then, so at some point we are going to have to upgrade the furnishings. Let me tell you, my son's first year of college, he lived in an apartment with four other boys. The next year he decided to live in the dorm. So that was fine. So he had his bed, he had his desk, he had his small refrigerator, he had all of those things. Guess where they went? They went in my garage when he came home, and then they went into the
In
container.
the container.
So, so
Absolutely.
I didn't spend any extra money. Everything that was in his apartment went right in there when he went to the dorms. So I do at some point need to get a little bigger fridge because the fridge is really small. But and the container came with these floating shelves. It came, so everything you see came with the mini split. So they did have to hook up the mini split, tie that into my electricity. Yeah,
All right.
rocks up with drainage. Yes, yes, rocks are good.
All right. This is beautiful.
Yeah. So that's it. We probably need to upgrade. So the situation for hanging clothes and putting shoes and stuff. Uh, Again, that was something that was in the garage and it came in. So I will repurpose stuff in a minute.
I was just ready to say it. So it's not somebody who's planning to be here long term. So they need
God,
somewhere to hang up. That's hang stuff up. That's perfect.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's
perfect.
all of these people, all of these guests are short term.
Yeah.
Actually, the longest, I just had somebody in there. She was from here, but had moved to the Philippines, but came back here to see her kids, and she was in there for 6 weeks. And I was like, oh my God, what is it going to look like? Because she was in there, and then her cousin came, and her cousin was in there, and they had
Oh
two
Lord.
people, and I was I was just stressing. I was like, okay, when she goes, what's it gonna look like? And it was a little bit, but I cleaned it up and I said, thank you, Lord, so
This is
yeah,
beautiful. Okay, so I'm a let us
that's
talk again. Let me. All right. So
mhm.
one of the questions that came out was whether the container is for rent. So are you still Airbnbing it?
Airbnb. Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's Airbnb because it's so small. I mean, it's really tiny. Now, under that bed, the bed is kind of high. So under that bed, you could put a lot of storage, I guess, your clothes and whatnot. Um, but I don't know. I haven't thought to rent it out. I like meeting new people. I love meeting because I'm a little bit. I know I may not seem like it, but I am an introvert, and it's easy if the people are here. If they're here and I talk to them and we start having conversations about this and that, that's great. I love that. But like if I got to go out to you, oh no, it's a whole different thing.
I
So
get you. I got that. So as I'm thinking about it, so it is on Airbnb. I realize you did not give me the link for Airbnb, so you need to give me the link so I can include it in the video description so people will know how to get to your place. You don't have to do it right now. Just we'll remember
okay,
to
I'm
do
gonna
that.
have to figure that out.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
no, it's on Airbnb. It's
Okay.
it's called it's called Cozy Container CC.
Okay.
That's CC.
I'm sure I'll be able to find it, but I'll also come back to the video description. By end of day, I will have it updated to include that link in the video description. So if you're watching in the future, hey folks in the future,
Mhm.
comment. Thank you for being here, but the link should be in the video description to access that beautiful container home.
Yeah,
Um,
love it.
so you mentioned something else about you not having spoken about some places where you did some RVs or something like that. Tell,
Uh,
talk to us quickly
yeah.
about that piece too.
So we had another building. Let's see, we had a duplex on in Vallejo as well. And let me say, one of the reasons why it's all intentional. One of the reasons why we're in Vallejo is because it is one of the last places where people can get real estate for inexpensively compared to everywhere else in the Bay Area. Right?
Okay.
We like to say, it's that last spot. So I actually intentionally became a licensed realtor to help families to build foundation. But I don't like that part of the job so much. I love getting people in homes, but I don't like that process, I guess I would say. It's not always an easy process for our people to purchase homes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
that's just and even though I'm black and brown, all of my processes, that is still there's still a lot of things a lot of red
Yeah,
tape, I guess I would say.
absolutely.
A lot of hoops.
It's one
Yeah.
of it is one of those systems that was designed to not be um, accessible to us. And the system, like we know, the system was absolutely built on racism. And over the years, they've had to come back in and take the racism out as laws have changed. Redlining, we talked about all those, the racist covenants that were able to
Right.
be included in rent agreements, being able
Mhm.
to say we're not selling to black people. Like all of that was actually built into real estate, into the sales, into the way lands, cities were developed, um, gentrification that still happens. And so what they've tried to do is go back and amend the system that was
Mhm.
built on racism, just like the United States, instead of what really needs
Yeah,
to happen is burn that whole system down and start anew. Like you can't go in and update some things that were built on racism
that's right. That's
because the
right.
racism is still built into it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it. It's all systemic. I see it even in the public education system, and I'm a teacher,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
it is all systemic. But in that situation, we bought a duplex, and let me also say, every property that we purchase in Vallejo was within a mile of where we live and where we operate, because I personally am a person, I need to be able to keep eyes on what I own. Now I
Okay.
know there's people who are and part of that might also be for having 2 years having property outside of the country and having other people have to be my eyes, right? It just
Right.
works better for me to have eyes. But so where the duplex was, there was a large lot. So what happened was we purchased a motorhome, and that was to part of this whole thing on taking trips, right? So we took that thing, we took it to Southern California. We're in Northern Cal. We took a trip. We took all the kids. It was a great trip. We went, all these different places. We were in Santa Monica. We were, down, and then from Long Beach, we took a cruise. We drove that thing back. On the trip back, we lost a mirror. That was crazy. But anyway, we lost a mirror, like the big mirror, like so you could see,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
we lost the mirror. So when we got back, this was not my idea. This was my ex. When we got back, he was like, "Where are we gonna park this thing?" So we parked it on the lot where the duplex was. And
Okay.
somebody asked, could one of the guys who was staying there asked if someone he knew could rent it. So that started that. So we had already been through all this process of doing different things. So we got that rented. So then of course the next thing was I didn't think I needed a new car, but my ex thought I needed a new car. And so, but he was like, we can't get a new car unless I have something to pay for it. So the next purchase was a fifth wheel. He put a fifth wheel on that same lot because the motorhome was doing so well. Used the
So,
rents from
so
that.
talk about a fifth wheel so everybody knows what a fifth wheel is. So that's a fifth wheel is a type of trailer. So go ahead.
So it's like a motor. It's like a motorhome or trailer, but
That
it has the
hump.
hitch where
Yeah.
you can put it onto the truck, right? And
Gooseneck
so
is sometimes what it's called too. A
gooseneck.
gooseneck.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. It has the gooseneck. So when you go inside of it, it looks just like any other, tiny living space, motorhome or whatever. But there's a part where you step up the stairs and then the bed is there. And that's because on the outside of it, that's where the gooseneck is to attach it to the truck so that you could pull it. Right. And so we put that fifth wheel, and I think the that fifth wheel was like $13,000, but you could get them even cheaper. But it
Mm-hmm.
was like $13,000, and then immediately that started being rented out because I'm in California, everything is expensive. But immediately that started being rented out for 1,600, right? And then my ex took that money and went and bought me a luxury vehicle that I would have never bought for myself. But
So
his idea was that would pay for that, and it did.
absolutely. So this property that these two things are on, is this the same property where the cottages are? This is a different duplex.
Different property,
Okay.
different duplex. So
Okay.
so at one point our portfolio was a um a fourplex, which then the garage was converted to an ADU, so it made it 5 units. So
Okay.
a four this is the stuff from us once we got together, right? So a fourplex, a duplex with with the motorhome, a fifth wheel, and then on this side another fifth wheel. So there was three on that property, and a garage on that duplex that was turned into um a studio, right? So that's one. So fourplex, duplex with the RVs, fifth wheel, and then another property with the
With
cottages,
the cottage.
right?
Hmm.
And then on the property that we actually lived in, the 900 square feet property, that one ended up being a converted garage, a tiny house, right? And the addition. So I
Okay.
think that's it. Okay, I think that's it as far as together. That does not include the townhouse that I came with or the other property
Property in
that
Rwanda.
he had. He had one other property.
Oh, he had one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So a
Yeah.
couple of
So
things
we
here.
came into it both having property. Let me
Okay.
say that.
Okay.
Yeah,
The a couple of things here. Again, all of this can't always be done in your city or county.
that's
California
true.
California has a lot more flexibility in options that they provide. A lot of this thinking outside of the box that Stephanie Denise is sharing with us is also, so you all know Keisha Meller Moves. This is a lot of the work that she does in ADUs and thinking outside of the box in the opportunity on the West Coast to bring in tiny houses on wheels, or to bring in, like Stephanie Denise is talking about, an RV. We spoke to Ansel. Ansel has had the tiny house in his backyard in Oakland, and now he has
Yeah.
a school bus out there. So they recognize that these are ways to affect the housing crisis, because it's a major housing crisis, and you see it even worse. I was talking about this with somebody in California. You see it even worse. You see it, I think, more in Florida, because most of the time they have warmer weather, and so I feel like there's more options for the unhoused to exist and live all year round in those areas. So it's much more noticeable that the housing crisis that the entire country has. So that's one thing I want to point out: the thinking outside of the box, the conversion of a garage. We use this RV, and where we're going to park it, and while it's parked here, we can make some money on it. The second thing I want to talk about that Stephanie, no, I forgot what number I'm on, y'all. Uh,
That's good.
the other thing I want to talk about, I ain't going to use numbers. The other thing I want to talk about that Stephanie Denise mentioned is needing a new car. But before she could get the new car, she needed something. There needed to be something that was making money. For me, that's kind of like when as I talk to you all about my downsizing process, or how I do clothing. Before I bring something else in, I'm taking something out. Or
Yeah.
if I'm buying something, I'm investing in something that I know is going to last a long time, because sustainability, I don't want to just keep buying things and repeat things. And so it's the thinking of long-term strategy. And I know that's not an analogy that's a one for one, but it's still the thinking of long-term opportunity and strategy. So I want to call that out as well. Um,
Yeah.
there's a question about, can you asking about the tiny house? Can you share who built it and the cost of it? And also, did the builder deliver and set up the tiny house? So that is a container home. So I want to call that, mention that too. But it's a small space, but it's a container home. And Stephanie Denise, I always say, if you're not comfortable sharing numbers, this is a safe space. You can say yes or no. I don't want to tell y'all.
Oh, okay. So the container home is a company that's here. Is in a city called San Leandro, actually, where I used to live. It's called Connex, and I love them. You know, now though they're in this last couple of years, I would say in the last year, they're starting to get really well known, and their prices are going up because people are getting excited about it. But something like that, because it's small, is like it's still around like 30, 35. So it's not cheap, but the reality is, it brings in monthly. I'm gonna say on average, it brings in 2,500 a month. And so I think that that's really good, because that makes my mortgage, just a little bit. And realistically, it was a good investment. I had the money, and if I hadn't have spent it on that, then what? Maybe I could have bought a new car, but that's not my thing. So you have to really, Connex. Josh is the guy. Josh is my guy, and I tell everybody about him because he does a good job. Right? He does a good job. He's a young guy. He's the owner of the company. He's thinking outside the box. He's trying to figure out how can we get these units everywhere, right? Because we do have a huge housing problem. A
Right.
huge housing
Right.
problem. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know
I'm
that question, but
okay.
Connex is the company for that.
Onyx. Okay, thank you. I see somebody say I don't have any sound. Did something happen that y'all don't have sound, or is it just WLJ? Can the rest of y'all hear me? Hear us? Okay,
YTC.
so Teresa says she has sound. Okay, WLJ, I'm sorry, it must be something happening with you. But I just wanted to make sure that you all could still hear us. Um, okay, so that those were two things. So that I wanted to talk about. So as you think about yourself, do you see yourself as part of the tiny house movement when you think about what you're doing?
Definitely, definitely. What I really want to do, see, because I've already, right, even though I no longer own the land in Rwanda, right, even though it's no longer mine, right, I went there, I found that land, I walked that land, I saw what that land looked like, parceled up into 21 separate plots, right? So this is in my mind. I can't unsee it, I can't undo it. So the idea is to be able to have land where we can build a tiny house village. That is like that's the goal. Because one, being a school teacher, I have so many colleagues who have retired and they don't have enough money to live the quality of life that they had lived before retiring.
Okay.
That's sad to me. That's very sad. There's so many people right now who are my age, I'm 53, my age and above, who are choosing to live, they're calling it van life, whatever, because that's all they could afford. I feel like that's fine if that is your choice. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's your choice because it's all that you can afford, then that's a different conversation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that's kind of what I see. I've been on this housing thing for the last 8 years. I always say I think it's part of my platform. I sometimes feel like I was born in 71, but I feel like I was supposed to be living in the 70s. Part of the platform, right? Breakfast program of provide affordable housing. Those two things are so important to me. Making sure that kids eat and making sure that people have a place to live. I feel it in my soul. So I feel like if I can be a part of that to help people so that they can live and live a good quality of life, then that's what I want to do.
That answers my I always ask like the work that you're doing, the does this the real estate investing, your home, does it represent a specific value system for you? And I think you answered that basically in the work that you want to do and the why.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Um what have you learned about yourself in this journey? As you've been doing this, what has this taught you about yourself?
um, what has it taught me about myself? One, I'm more creative than I ever knew, and uh, in many ways, I'm smarter around finances than I know. Um, I know how to, or God has blessed me to be able to create situations out of nothing, or out of a little,
Mm,
and it's taught me to be content. I mean, strive for more, yes, but also be content with where you are along the journey. As a kid, I didn't have that. Like I said, we moved around a lot. I didn't really know who I was because every time we moved, I reinvented myself,
mm.
right? And let me say this, I'm an only child, right? So, so that's a whole, only children, that's a whole different thing in itself, right? So I can entertain myself and keep myself happy. I can play alone well,
I got one of
you know.
the only children. Absolutely. She'd be in the whole zone. I remember my next door neighbor told me, "Your daughter never speaks." I said, "When you speak to her, what is she doing?" She said, "Out on the patio reading a book." I said, "She ain't even here. Wherever that book is, that's where she is. So she didn't see you, she didn't hear you. So it's not that she's rude. She is in that book because she is an only child and she is gone."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I think that this whole journey has taught me that it's important to care about others. And if you can be of service to anyone, and if you can make their journey a little bit easier, either by sharing information or building community, then do it. Because people need that. People need to know you care. People need to know that they matter. And people need to know that they're important, regardless of what their financial situation is. But if you can impart any wisdom that helps them with that, then do it.
Absolutely. What what lessons do you see in the twins? So your older daughter, was that was your bonus daughter, right? The
My
older,
older, hmm
you just
yeah,
have, you
my
have the
older
step
daughter.
twins. So what learnings do you see in the twins now that you know kind of is a result of the the vision that they've seen from early on? How do you see that now manifesting in how they move?
One thing that they know for sure, they know that if you give something your utmost attention for 5 years, you will be at the top of your game in whatever area that is. 5 consistent years of hard work, right? Because this story that I'm telling you right now, this all happened in 8 years. That's a lot in
Mm-hmm.
8 years. You know
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? That's a lot. So they know that if they commit to a thing and see it through to the end, that they will have success. They know not to quit in the middle or not to quit too soon. They know how to take their finances and hold on, only spend when necessary, right? My daughter already has been saving money. My daughter is a dancer. As a matter of fact, she just finished her it was their dance performance week at her college, and so she just finished. But she already has money put away. She already is looking at properties purchase that she could purchase for her dance studio. She already knows that she does not want to work for someone else per se. She's a dance teacher now at the school that she went to, that she learned dance at. She was a travel softball player all the time until we moved to Vallejo. She totally reinvented and recreated herself. She is a dancer now. She's a choreographer, and that's going to be her life. She'll teach, and that's what she'll do. My son was a baseball player up until the time we came here. He reinvented himself. He now plays basketball. He started late. Little kids start playing basketball when they're like 3 or 4. My son didn't start playing basketball until he was like 14. He plays basketball for his university. He started with, he went to a JC. He did his 2 years. He completed,
JC
and then
junior, junior college, y'all, just in case. Go ahead.
junior college. I'm sorry,
That's okay.
and then moved on to a 4 year university. Both of them, because of their hard work, got have scholarships. I mean, we still have to kick in a little here and there, but so they know that it takes money to be able to live. They know that they have to work hard. They know that they have to find something that they love so that they can earn the money that they need to live, but also do something that they love, not just go to a job. And I should say, with my son, he has learned to be a great communicator because at his school he does like the radio broadcast, and it's an hour-long show and he holds it down by himself. I'm like, oh my God, that's my kid. So I just think, from traveling the world, interacting with me, interacting with my ex, because he was a forward thinker. There's no doubt about that. And he came in their life when they were 12. I think that made a big difference. I think that made a big difference in shaping my son. My son is fearless. Sometimes he have a little fear, but he pushes through it. You know what I'm saying? But he knows that the world is his. He can go anywhere and he'll be okay. And sometimes that's hard, especially with us as women raising sons, because we know the things that happen. Sometimes we put fear into our kids, that it doesn't serve them well, if that makes
Yeah,
any
that's a
sense.
that I don't have a son, but that's a hard balance because we need to teach them about the world so they won't be naive to the fact of how the world's going to treat them as a black male. But at the same time, we don't want to overburden them, and we don't want to make them move in fear. And so a lot of my friends that I have, I know that is a hard line to toe, to make sure you're doing both, because
Mm,
of this damn society that makes us have to do that for our
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think my kids are going to be good. I don't know that they'll go into real estate, but I do know that for them having a foundation is really important. And they're figuring out what they have to do to make sure that they have a solid foundation. And they're clear. They do not want to live outside of the
Yeah.
US,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
even though with all of the travel and everything else. So
Okay.
yeah.
So, Carol, I did see your question. I want to address your question was asking where can somebody learn about living outside the US. I always send folks to my friends Stephanie and Rashida, the Exodus Summit, an excellent
Hmm.
resource on Facebook. It's for Black women. Um, on Facebook, not everybody wants to live outside of the country full time. Some people just want to travel a little bit, and that's an excellent resource to begin there. Some are beginners, some have been doing this for a while, so you will absolutely find somebody there to 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 help you in that journey and some learnings, and then watch their YouTubes. They always have those YouTubes. Two
Hmm.
things I want to say about your lessons for your kids. um, One of the things that you mentioned was the effort into projects that at least 5 years. So many people at this point expect to be able to see, and social media has us, in kind of the instant gratification mode, or the mode of you're observing other people's journeys, and you have no idea behind the back scene behind that of what that looks like to accomplish that, what the times that person was stressed out, the time that person didn't have the money, all of the things, because in these short snippets, all you're seeing is the good stuff. You're not seeing the behind the. So that lesson of 5 years into a project is absolutely beneficial. It takes effort to for something to be successful. I share that all the time. 10 years into this tiny house journey, I've always shared how getting into it, it took every bit of money I had and then some, borrowing from friends to get, because financing for a tiny house is not where financing for everything else. I've shared the story of how I was dead broke right after I moved in my house in May of 2015, and didn't have the money to buy a mini split, a AC unit, and sat for several months in the summer with no AC. I've said that I feel like I was hallucinating as I had to sit still on that couch. But I had to do what I had. I didn't have any more money.
Uh-huh.
A fan wasn't doing anything but moving hot air around. But I knew my vision was that it was going to be better and it was going to be
Yeah,
worth it. And it absolutely is better and worth it. And so those are the things that we have to keep reminding ourselves.
that's
And then
right.
the other piece that you called out is the opportunity to reinvent yourself, the opportunity to dream a new dream, the opportunity to take a pivot. We talk about that all the time. The
Yeah,
opportunity to take a pivot when you determine that you need to, or when it's time to dream a new dream. You get to do that. You don't have to keep going that course because you
right,
signed up for that course 2 years ago. Once you start
right.
realizing this ain't the direction I need to go, or this ain't even who I am anymore, you get to make that change. And I was talking about that this week. How I was talking about it with my therapist. How I knew I wanted to move from this location before I had my mini stroke, but
Yeah,
my logical brain, my financial brain wouldn't allow me to consider it, because
yeah,
I had spent so much money here and I had made decisions, financial decisions to do things here, because I had said I wasn't moving. And so my
right,
financial brain, my logical brain, kind of had put myself on punishment. Like, you can't move from here. Like, you have to suck it up, figure it out. And then after the mini stroke, when it's some fear of not wanting to do that again out here in isolation. I'm allowing myself to consider it when I should have allowed myself to consider it before, because you do get to dream a new dream. And I said to my
mm,
therapist, if it had been anybody other than myself, I would have said, "Girl, if you don't pack up and move, we know you said you wasn't moving, but pack up and let's go. Let me come help you pack. But I treat
Yeah.
myself differently. And so it's the reminder, and I'm not saying I'm what I'm saying is it wasn't right. I should have treated myself with that same care that I would give to somebody else. But that's why I'm talking to a therapist. But it's the
Yeah.
reminder that you get to dream a new dream. You get to pivot. You get to do things that life is short. You get to do things that sit well with your soul when you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad
Yeah.
that the thing that makes me happy for your young people is they have this lesson now. They saw you do the work and they have this lesson as the core of who they are because that's
Yeah.
important. And that's not always something our kids get.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Okay, so I know you've written a couple of books, and so um, Stephanie Denise's links are gonna be in the video description of how to stay connected with her. We're gonna talk about that in just a minute, and there are also some
Mhm.
links to some books that she's written. I'm gonna ask you to kind of talk a bit about your books that you've written, but before, neither one of your books are an autobiography. So my question always is, what would be the title of your autobiography? And maybe it's a
that's that's a good question. I've never thought about that, but definitely hmm, maybe something like a woman's worth or the value of a woman. Something along those lines. Because I've always people have told me so many times that I do not understand my worth. And I don't know if that's because
Mhm.
I'm an only child. I don't have someone like a sibling to look at and measure,
I don't that's
whatever.
that I don't I have siblings and I'm right there. So I don't think that would have made any difference if you just don't have it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's something along those lines because I've had so many different lives. I've had so many different lives, so many things that have happened, so many successes. And I've always been a person, like, if I do quit a thing or stop doing a certain thing, I always stop when I'm at the top of that thing instead of at the bottom. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So I probably have a lot that I could share and a lot that I could write about because I've had a lot of great experiences. And and things that don't always happen for women, and or for women to be successful, or things that happen for women who, when they happen, women are not able to really take it and run with it. And this is a small example. When I was ordained a deacon in the African Methodist Church, and then later on I was ordained a reverend, a itinerant deacon, or itinerant elder. I'm sorry, and these are just weird titles, but church titles. But the thing that happens is once you're ordained, you can be sent out to serve a church. When
Okay.
they first gave me a church to pastor, I was young. I was 33 years old, and I had 6-week-old twins, and the church was a rural church, so it was about 4 hours from where I lived. So I'm pumping milk, right? And I would go and I would minister to that church Sunday after Sunday after Sunday. And the beautiful thing about that church is, because I had babies, we were able, and there were young people there, we were able to bring those young people together, and we were able to send those young people on a missions trip, to help rebuild some buildings. Look at this, it's crazy. So, to rebuild some buildings that have been burned. And the missions trip was in Alaska. And those young people to this day remember going all the way to Alaska from a little town called Fowler, California, to help rebuild some damaged buildings, right? And this is 20 years ago, right? And so, um, I think sometimes I forget about the stories. I forget about the journey to get here. I forget that this is all on purpose. This is
Yeah,
all a part
absolutely.
of what was designed for me, right? And so
Absolutely.
I think at some point I'll have to tell the story, but I forget how important it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I other people are able to look at you and see that, but while you're in it, it is and you're living it, it is so hard to see the journey or see yourself and as other people see you and can remind you of your successes. And I've said that the job that ended up putting me into mini stroke, starting that job, and maybe it was the one before that. I'm sitting there trying to figure out how in the world I'm going to learn all of this stuff. How can I do all of this stuff? And feeling overwhelmed. And at one point, it was almost like imposter syndrome. It's like, did I sell myself? Did I oversell myself? Because I don't know what the hell y'all are talking about. Just feeling like I was not
Mhm.
supposed to be there. And
Mm.
oftentimes that happens for us, especially as Black folks in predominantly white spaces where we're not um, respected for our
Mhm.
expertise. And so one day I was sitting there just feeling like I I don't know, like this ain't what I know, this ain't. And then I'm sitting here in this room, and I have to remind myself, you built a whole tiny house from a trailer up. You went and
Yeah.
purchased a trailer and built a whole house on it, and you live in that house. And then the space that you're sitting in right now is a sunroom that you again built from some graph paper, drew it out of how you wanted it to be built, and you did
Yeah.
that. And this is where you're sitting, looking, living, existing, as you sitting here with these folks, allowing them to make you feel less
Yeah.
than.
Yeah.
Um, so that it is hard for us to see our worth, and it doesn't have, I don't think it is relative to only children. It is just, we live in a world that doesn't, I don't want to say we don't need that validation, but doesn't support us, doesn't see us.
Yeah.
And so it is hard to see yourself. I can say that absolutely. So yes,
Yeah.
and that's where the writing, that's where the journaling is supportive, and
Yeah.
that's also where the community is supportive to help remind you who you are and what you are and what you bring to the table. So absolutely. And shout out to my friend again. Let me make sure. Denise Scott. That's what community will do for you. That's why we say hello, Denise Scott. That's
Yeah.
all of why we do all
Yeah.
of this. This is community. This isn't just a podcast. This is real conversation. So, hey, Denise Scott, to you again. Hello to you again. All right.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
is one question that I haven't asked you as we've talked about your journey that you wish I had?
Ooh, I don't know. That I think because I think once I start talking, I'm kind of like motor mouth, and I talk about everything.
Your motor
So
mouth.
so mm, I don't know. I don't know what question. I don't know. I feel so grateful. I just feel, I feel so blessed. And I think you could ask me any question and I feel like I could answer it. I feel like I saw you on the big screen. I have a big TV in my living room and I saw you on there and I was like, some of her story is like mine. I
Okay.
like her. And I mean, it just like resonate. There was something in you that just resonated with my soul. And I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know what it is about her. And so I just think that we don't understand this life. We don't understand exactly what is, but there are certain people and certain situations that help us on our journey. You helped me on my journey, seeing you being Miss Bohemian Soul, you being Jewel and showing up in your authentic true self was a blessing to me and helped me to understand even more that I can continue to be my authentic self. For a long time, I've always taught, but I've always been either one of like maybe two or three Black teachers within a school district. I stayed in the same school district my whole time teaching, 20 plus years. And there were hardly any of us. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't start showing up to my authentic self until I moved to Vallejo, until about 8 years ago. That's a long time. Like these locks and all of it, this is new. I've been trying to have natural hair for years, but it never worked. And so I was a flat iron, go to the shop girl, makeup, just all of that, which was not who I genuinely am at my core. And seeing you help me to understand that and help me to really embrace who I am. And I just think that for us as people of color, we have to understand and learn how to be our genuine
Absolutely.
selves,
Absolutely.
right? And when our world, that's why I say I black and brown my world, because I had so many years, and I grew up in Seattle, Washington. I should say
Oh,
that too.
wow. Yes.
So I had so many years of being one or the only or one of two. And that does, what Oprah says, that daily wearing away of the soul.
Mhm,
That's what happens,
mhm.
right? And I think that that's where a lot of us, we get to that point. And I'm just so glad and grateful for this season, for genuine people like yourself, and others out there who are making a difference and helping us to love our genuine selves, because that's what's going to make the difference. Because I tell people, you take yourself wherever you are. So if you leave the country, you're going to take yourself with you,
Right.
right? Whoever you are.
Right. Wherever you go, there you are. That's absolutely. Wherever you go, there you are. Absolutely.
So make sure you're taking the right one with you.
And you got to get to know which one is the right one. You got to do the work, and that's hard work, and not everybody is willing to put in that hard work, but it is so worth it to figure out who you are. Absolutely, knowing your authentic self and being able to stand in that, because like you
Yeah,
said, the world is going to try to chip away from it. It's not going to be accepted. It's going to be all the things. And so you have to do that work to get there. And because, well, you don't have to. There's so many people who aren't doing the work and they're moving through this world and they're not doing that work. But to be in that place of peace and authenticity, and for the things to, Stephanie was talking about this on her live yesterday, and she mentioned me a couple of times, and she was saying how things just line up, and you don't have to push it, and things
yeah,
are in alignment because you are in the right place and you're doing the right things and you're being the right person.
yeah,
And she said she talks to me all the time, and she reminds me. She says, "Do you see how things are lining up for you?" And I see it.
yeah.
It is one of the things, as I was talking to my therapist about how I will cry so much right now. It's like the
Mm,
the gratitude is just bubbling over because I see that. And I know it
yeah,
is because I am trying to be that right person and being in an authentic space and being the best person that I know I can be and that I'm
that's right.
supposed to be. And the things are just lining, even as I talk about this move.
Hmm.
When I talked about being in San Miguel, and I didn't even want to investigate some quotes because I didn't want to ruin my time there. And this lady took it upon her whole self to come out here and give me a quote and do all the things on this
Yeah,
property. And the quote aligned with what I needed. And I had to stop right then. And I said, God, thank you. Because I'm over
yeah,
here in avoidance because I don't want to ruin my trip, and I'm nervous. And you over here saying, girl, I got you. This
yeah,
this this is going to be okay. You can do this thing.
yeah.
But it's if I and as much as I say I don't want to be isolated right now, and that's why I'm moving, I needed to be here in the beginning because I needed this isolation so to do that hard work. And
Yeah,
when folks ain't willing to do the work, they can move through this life, but and they'll be okay. But when you do the work and you get down to the core and the basic of who you're supposed to be and living and doing the right things and feel and putting that good energy out there and being that good person, the stuff just starts moving.
it does.
And that is, it is a beautiful thing when, as Stephanie was saying, when she says to me, Jewel, do you see how stuff is just lining up for you? And sometimes I just sit there and laugh, and I just be like, God, I see you. Like I ain't doing nothing. I see you, and I thank you.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, I thank you. Yeah.
Thank.
Okay, tell us. It'll all be in the video description, but y'all know, thank y'all. Thank y'all. You
Thank
know,
you.
I always want to give our guests a chance to tell us how to find them, and so you can follow them. So,
Mhm.
Stephanie Denise, please tell us where folks can find you.
Okay. I am on Instagram. Let me see. Hold on. She'll have it in the link, but I'm at Reverend Stephanie Denise. Then I somehow have two Instagram, I mean, two YouTubes, and I'm at Stephanie Clark 71, right? And definitely check it out. I have two books on Amazon. I'm going to show one. I don't know if y'all can see this.
Yes, I
This
see
one is
it. 21 days.
um,
Move it a little
21
bit. Move it a little bit over. Hold it up now. No, 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 no. Yep, there you go. There you go. 21 days of faith. Finding your
21 days of faith, finding your purpose, right?
beautiful.
That's one. And then this is my brand new one. It started out as an ebook, and then somebody said, well, you can make it into a book. So it's not very long, but it's called Let's Talk About Finance for Women. And it really talks about financial literacy, not just being about understanding money, but it's also about being empowered, right? Because for all of this, whether we're moving abroad, whether we're starting a new relationship, whether we're raising children, whether we're here in the States and we want a better life, we have to walk in empowerment, right? We have to be empowered.
Ab-
And if we understand that everything that we need is within us, then we'll be all right.
Absolutely. All right. So
Mm.
you talked about your books. Did you say your other the other channel? I know you mentioned there was two you have, but I think you only mentioned one. I know um one is okay, Reverend Stephanie Denise at Reverend Stephanie Denise is
Mhm.
one way to connect with her, and then the second one is at Stephanie Clark dash 71. So you got to put the whole name, Reverend Stephanie Denise, or at Stephanie Clark dash 71. And she already told me that the content is basically the same on both. At some point, maybe she'll combine them. All of this information will be in the chat. Um, I mean, not in the chat, in the video description so that you can access it. She's also provided her email, but y'all know we don't, if y'all going to reach out, you want to get some more information, we don't ask folks to work for free. So make sure we're doing reciprocity. We're doing bring stuff to the table versus just taking stuff from the table. So don't expect stuff for free. So I'll say that because she was generous in sharing her email. So, but I want y'all to be right and do the right thing.
I'm
Um,
sneezing all of a sudden.
bless you.
Sneeze.
Okay, so wait a minute. So folks are saying they searched for you on IG and couldn't find you. So let me
Oh, let's
look while we here. Let's make sure we get this together.
see. Excuse me.
Hey, take your time. I'm gonna find you.
Hold
You
on.
get yourself together.
Yeah, I'm over here sneezing. Haven't.
Okay, okay. Let's find. Y'all give me a minute. I'm looking and I'm stalling so she can get it together. Reverend Stephanie Denise. I don't see either one of them either. Don't y'all worry. I'll get her together and we'll. I know
Okay,
she.
wait. Here I come.
You fine.
All righty. So what are we looking for? The IG?
Yes, because neither one of the names that you said, Reverend Stephanie Denise or at Stephanie Clark hyphen
Okay. So
71 coming up. So let's
okay. So
sort this out while we right here.
uh-huh. Um okay. So you went to Rev dot Stephanie Denise at
Rev dot.
yeah, Rev dot Stephanie Denise. That's for the IG.
Okay, so you said you had Rev spelled out, so it's Rev dot Stephanie Denise. So let's see if that comes up.
Let's see if that comes up.
All right, Rev dot. Okay, Rev dot Stephanie Denise came up. All right, And then the other one
The
at
other
Ste-
one,
is at Stephanie Denise, but it's something that's happening with that. Let's see. Is there a hyphen? Let's see. I mean, is there a space?
you're talking about for the
Stephanie
YouTube?
Clark. No, no, no. Stephanie Clark on IG. We're still talking about.
Oh, I should only have one IG. That's weird.
Do you
I
have an?
should have.
Oh, that's Facebook. Okay. So IG is Rev dot Stephanie Denise, y'all.
Mm,
And then
yeah,
I'll check all the other links.
yeah,
Rev dot Stephanie Denise
yeah. That's the IG, and
on.
then for the YouTubes, like I said, they're new. I'm not super social like that, but so one of the YouTubes is at Reverend spelled out Stephanie Denise, right? And then it's just a repeat at Stephanie Clark dash
Oh, that's
71.
YouTube. I got you. Okay, that's YouTube. I
That's
thought that.
YouTube.
Okay, I'll fix it.
Um,
Um,
yeah, and then I have a website. The website is www.revstephaniedenise.com.
got you. Okay,
And
I got that
yes,
right.
those are the blogs on there. But yeah, so
Okay,
so I'm not super techy. I got it. That's some area I definitely have to work on. But you can find my books on Amazon. Let's talk about finance for women and 21 Days of Faith, Finding Your Purpose. Those are there. And yep, I only have one IG. So
okay,
that's
we
it.
got you. All right, thank you. I wanted to get that straight before um we signed off. Uh,
Oh, well, thank you. I was
no,
having a sneezing attack over here.
I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, good people. I want to for some housekeeping. So we have a meetup next month. December is right around the corner. That's why I need to be in here packing because my lazy gene has taken over and I ain't been packing. But I got to get it ready because December is right around the corner. So the December meetup, I just dropped the link in the chat. If you want to join us, it is December the 14th in person here in Charlotte. Folks that are in the Patreon community get to attend the meetup virtually. There's always an offering for Patreon virtually. If you're not a member of Patreon, please, you're welcome to join us. We'd love to have you there. I'm going to drop that as well. We have a little more intimate conversations over there in Patreon. We can actually see and chat with each other and do all those things. And we have a monthly conversation, and we got some accountability stuff going on, and a lot of folks that we are able to connect with. That's some more community. Um, Ma'am who told us about saying hello to folks. That's some more community that we have going on. So please feel free to join all of those places if you'd like to. Thank y'all so much for joining us here. Stephanie Denise, thank you so kindly for this conversation, for sharing,
Well,
for the humor, for the strategy, because that was the main part we wanted to talk about. We got a lot of strategy here, real estate investing strategy and a liberation strategy, and that's what we came to talk about, and that was what was delivered. So I thank you very much for sharing that with us. Crystal,
you are
I'm not sure what you love from me, but I love it too. If you love it, thank you. Rosalind, thank you. I saw your comment about my scarf. I thank you. Up under here is some hair that needs some shampooing, but it ain't happening right now. So thank y'all. Um, that's it. Thank y'all. Happy
thank
Sunday.
you.
Reverend Denise, thank you
Thank you.
so much for your time today. And for sharing your journey.
Yeah,
Congratulations to you on such an amazing journey. Happy to have you here in the tiny house community with me. Thank you for being part of our community and then being willing to come on and share your story with us. And I appreciate that very much. It has been beautiful being in conversation here with you on this Sunday. So
All right.
I'm going to ask you to hold on for a second. Everybody else,
Okay.
happy Sunday to y'all. We'll talk to y'all soon. I still think I gotta look at my calendar because y'all know I gotta move, but I don't think it impacts any of the Sundays. So um, anyway, happy Sunday. Thank y'all. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you soon.